Hello and welcome to Tall Traveler Bob. If you are new to the channel, I am lucky enough to have traveled the world for over 30 years on cruise ships, and if there is a coastline, more than likely I have been there. Today's episode, we are staying at home in Yorba, California and going to the Richard Nixon Presidential Library. So many exciting things in this presidential library. It's well worth it. Please stay tuned, enjoy, and thanks for tuning in to Tall Traveler Bob. The following presentation has slides which are 5 seconds each. If you would like to stop and read any of the visuals, please hit the pause button and you can watch and read and move on at your pace. Thank you for watching. Look at that fountain out front. The water rises and falls, catching the California sun, casting a steady, rhythmic hum over the entry plaza. It is peaceful. It feels permanent, but water is funny that way. It can mirror a perfectly calm sky, or it can churn. And if you stand right here by the entrance of the Richard Nixon Presidential Library in Yorba, California, you realize that contrast is exactly what you're about to walk into. You're standing on ground where a boy looked at the horizon and dreamed of the world, and where that same man eventually returned carrying the weight of the world on his shoulders. Step onto the grass just beyond the plaza, and you are stepping into a time capsule. This isn't just a monument built out of marble and steel long after the fact. This is a literal history. Right there sits the small white wood frame farmhouse that Richard Nixon's father built from a kit. Think about that. The 37th president of the United States was born in the bedroom in that house. He fell asleep listening to the whistle of the Santa Fe trains cutting through the citrus groves. It is a humble, rural, American beginning. It represents the self-made climb, the gritty, relentless drive of a young man from Yorba who fought his way to Whittier College, to Duke, then the Navy, and eventually the highest office on earth. You see the signing of the Strategic Arms Limitation Treaty with the Soviet Union. You witness the ending of America's combat role in Vietnam. Then you walk through the museum doors, and the small town boy disappears into the global arena. The exhibits don't pull punches. They shouldn't. You walk into the grand tapestry of the 20th century. You stand beneath the towering bronze statues of world leaders. De Gaulle, Churchill, the giants Nixon negotiated with. You are thrust into the tension of the Cold War. You feel the absolute audacity of the 1972 trip to China, a geopolitical earthquake that rewrote the global balance of power. It is a dizzying display of statecraft, strategy, and vision. But a presidency is never just one thing. The Nixon Library doesn't let you look away from the shadows. You walk into the Watergate gallery and atmosphere shifts. The lights feel different. The tapes are there. The headlines are there. The resignation speech, delivered with that brave, heartbreaking wave from the steps of Army One, echoes through the room. It is a raw, agonizingly human look at power, vulnerability, and political strategy. It reminds you that history isn't written by flawless icons. It is written by brilliant, flawed, deeply complex human beings. Yet when you step back outside, the heavy air of the politics dissipates. You find yourself in the Pat Nixon garden. It is spectacular. Thousands of roses, the First Lady's favorite flower, bursting in reds, pinks, and whites. It smells of earth and ocean air. It is a tribute to a woman of immense dignity, a sanctuary of quiet beauty. And just steps away, under a simple gray circular monument, Richard and Pat rest side by side. The inscription on the headstone reads, "The greatest honor history can bestow is the title of peacemaker." So you walk back out front to the entrance. You listen to that fountain again. The water hasn't stopped moving. It keeps flowing, recycling, renewing. That is what the library really is. It isn't just a warehouse for old papers or a vault of the past. It is a living conversation. It challenges us to look at the triumphs and the tragedies together without blinking. It asks us to look at how a nation handles its darkest hours and its brightest achievements. It is the story of America, restless, complicated, and ever-moving, just like the water out front. And here is what came up when I asked ChatGTP about Watergate, and this is Richard Nixon reading. "You don't understand. I didn't just want to win. I had to annihilate them. The press, the protesters, the counter-government. They were out to destroy everything I was building. So yes, when those men were caught in the Watergate complex, my immediate instinct was to protect the presidency. Not for me, but for the country. I thought we could contain it. Keep the CIA away from the FBI's prying eyes. I authorized the cover-up because I believed the ends justified the means. But the tapes, my God, the tapes! When that secret Oval Office recording system was exposed, the game was up. I was the captain of a sinking ship, and I was handing the prosecutors the torpedoes. They call it a tragedy, but I call it a war where I handed the enemy my own sword. The hardest part wasn't the resignation. It was knowing I gave my political enemies the very ammunition they needed to validate their hatred of me." Before his political rise, Richard Nixon served in the United States Navy during World War II, earning the rank of lieutenant commander. Despite being a strict Quaker and having a government job that could have secured him draft deferment, he chose to enlist in 1942. Stationed in the sweltering heat of the South Pacific, specifically Guadalcanal and the Solomon Islands, he served not on the front lines, but as a vital aviation ground officer. He ran the Combat Air Transport Command, ensuring that vital supplies reached the front and wounded troops were evacuated to safety. They called me Nick out there in the Solomon Islands, far from the halls of Whittier or the quiet prayers of my Quaker upbringing. I was just a Navy lieutenant trying to keep a logistical nightmare afloat. The heat was suffocating. The malaria was a constant threat, and the Japanese bombers made sure we never slept through the night. But we did the work. We managed the manifest and coordinated the C-47s and got the boys out when the jungle chewed them up. And the poker. Oh, the poker. Men were dying in the dark a few islands over, but in our tents we played cards until the candle wax ran dry. I learned how to bluff, how to read a man's eyes when he was holding a bad hand, and how to stay calm when the chips were down. Those 3 years in the South Pacific taught me more about endurance, human nature, and leadership than any law school ever could. It stripped away the quiet pacifism of my childhood and forged a hard, pragmatic shell. I wasn't a hero who changed a machine gun nest, but I kept the planes flying and the men moving. When I finally came home to California, I wasn't just a lawyer anymore. I was a veteran, ready to fight for the future of our country. So that is the Richard Nixon Library in Yorba, California. It is well worth a visit. So much history in there and so much more than you ever expected. Thank you so much. If you can, please share this video with your friends, comment, subscribe, and please let me know what you think of the videos. I hope you're enjoying them, and I look forward to putting together a lot more of them for you. Thanks for tuning in to Tall Traveler Bob.